Thank you very much for that introduction. So I guess university is one of the few normal things that I really ever do, and every time that I'm at university, which is quite rare, I'm meant to be in class right now as a matter of fact, my friends and my peers constantly remind me of how I'm actually not that normal and I seem to be living in this little bubble of mine, this little bubble where I think that everything I do is normal, but evidently not so. Many of you would probably remember when you were a teenager, when you were a child, or maybe even now, we always seem to be striving towards normality. Not because we want to be like everyone else and we want to be boring and dull, but because we want to fit in. So being normal is absolutely fine. And the reason why I said I feel like I'm normal is when I was speaking to my friends about speaking at TEDxChCh, I was talking to them about defying social norms, and that was what I thought I was going to be speaking about, etc., etc. And all of the things that they thought that they were defying in terms of social norms, so caring about politics was something that came up quite often, wanting to make a difference in the world, they kept suggesting all these things. And I was like, these are things that I'm doing too. So doesn't that make us normal? Because, you know, it's both of us that want this thing. But then as I spoke to people on the streets, at bus stops and places of random where you don't expect to be approached by some crazy girl asking you, what do you think you're doing differently in your life? I started to realize that, that I wasn't actually too normal and I really was living in this bubble. So I guess today I'm going to be speaking to you a bit about why defying social norms is quite an important thing if we want to create social change to solve some of the big problems that we're facing. So whether that be climate change, global poverty, stereotypes that currently exist which are negative, etc. Now, I didn't want to be that girl that was known for coming to a TEDx event and trying to define exactly what social norms were and making this definitive list of what I thought everyone was actually like. I won't lie, I did do some research. Someone recently brought me stuff white people liked. So I was reading through it and I was like, yeah, I see some of this, like I'm maybe that, maybe not that. And you'll all be happy to know that you are normal in some way, or at least white, if you will. Number 134 in the website/book is liking TED conferences. So I think you all fit that bill just fine. But moving on from that. So I didn't want to be the girl that defined social norms, not because obviously being someone that's not normal, I didn't quite know what it was, but also because everyone has quite a different perception of what social norms are. Yes, social norms are values and beliefs that all of us hold because society tells us almost what to think through the media, but primarily through our families actually. From the moment that we're born, our families expect various things from us. Our parents expect for us to grow up happy. Some parents expect their children to marry, have children so that they can consider themselves grandparents, or going to university to become an investment banker, a doctor, or whatever. Every family places some sort of expectations, which I guess are the basis of how social norms are formed for each and every individual. Now, my parents fortunately weren't like many Asian parents who have that stereotypical, you should be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant, or anything like that. My parents were, I guess, a bit more general about what they felt I should be doing. So I went along through my childhood living a rather normal life until I was faced with a fork path. I couldn't really find a picture of a fork path, so just lots of forks. And I even brought a fork on stage to demonstrate my next point, if I can get it out of my pocket. So I guess I was going down the straight and narrow, like everything was fine. I was going through primary school, high school, and then I was faced with the decision when I was maybe 15, 16, when people started to ask me, what is it that you want to do with the rest of your life? And I thought about it. There were so many different options that I had. It wasn't because I lacked opportunity or lacked a choice, but I thought, what is it that I want to do? Do I want to go down path A, which is a prong A on this fork, which was, you know, go to university, graduate, do some graduate program, and then get a job? Or did I want to go down B, marry really young, have children? Did I want to go down C, do some other thing that I guess was quite typical, something that other people had done before me, something that would have been quite easy for me to emulate in that, oh, that person's already done it and they got to this result by the end of it. And that wasn't necessarily what I wanted. I still don't quite know the answer to the question, so please don't ask me. But I sort of know that what I want to do is essentially create social change in some way in society. And for me, there's no clear path towards creating social change. How does someone go about creating social change? I'm at university now, I am studying, but I'm not studying a Bachelor of Social Change, or there aren't any after-school courses that I could have taken whilst I was in high school. So instead, I guess what I embarked upon essentially was a web. It wasn't really a straight and narrow. It wasn't something that had been done before. It was different. It was this web of social change that I was, I guess, going down. It was something that I have no idea and still have no idea about exactly what I'm doing. And this all started with that campaign that was mentioned before, Change a Million Light Bulbs. Essentially, I set out to change a million light bulbs, convert incandescent lights into fluorescent lights. You could say that it was successful. We did change a million light bulbs. We managed to get some laws changed as well. And it was just a bizarre process because when I was doing this, my one aim was I wanted to change the light bulbs. I didn't quite realize at the time, I was 15, what social change I would be creating, let alone what social norms I was defying. I don't even think I knew what social norms were until I started studying literature at university, and the term was just thrown around all the time. And it's not until I really look back now and I think there were some norms that I was defying for the fact that I was so young. I was 15 at the time. I don't think anybody, and that included teachers and parents and friends and peers and the like, even though they were extremely supportive, expected me as a 15-year-old girl to go out and change a million light bulbs. No one expected that of me. No one expected that I would do it in the way that I did, which was primarily through online networks, through word of mouth and things like that. It was a different form of communication. It was one that I guess the older generations, like Generation X, the baby boomers, which my parents are from, weren't too aware about. They were like, what's this online thing? What's social media? What's Facebook? But that was what we used because they were our target audience, young people, people that were my age as well, convincing them that they could create change. Now, one of the reasons why I was able to do this so young was because I didn't really, I guess, fall into this belief that you need some sort of qualification in order to create social change. You don't need to have finished high school, you don't need to have gone to university or graduated and things like that. And that's why there are so many other young people out there now, and I could give you a million examples from people I know back in Australia who've created Make Poverty History concerts with over 50,000 people attending at the age of 18, running massive national advocacy campaigns in their country on poverty, on climate change, on other social issues. And it's because we don't think that we need a qualification. Maybe it's because none of us are terribly smart and doing well at university. But we have this, I guess, belief in ourselves, something that we've carried on from our childhoods. We haven't lost that inhibition yet. We haven't gotten to the point where we think that we need to conform to what society expects of us. We don't think that we need to have done A, B, and C in order to get to D. We can get from A to D through other means. And that's what I mean when I say that I've gone down this web to get to social change as opposed to a fork where it's not on the straight and narrow. And social change is something that is also hard to define, equally as hard as defining what social norms is. Because who can say what is good social change and what's negative social change? All I do know is that if we don't change the ways that we are, if we just conform to everything that people expect of us and the like, then nothing in society will change because we'll be the same. If I did do everything that people expected of me, then what would actually be different from everyone that has come before me and everyone that will come after me that does the same? And I think that's just, I guess, one of the integral points of dedicating a life towards social change, in that that's defying a major social norm of the fact that in order to create social change, you have to challenge the status quo, and that in itself is creating some form of change, whether positive or negative. The reason why a lot of young people now are deciding to not only fix the problems, or attempt to fix the problems rather, of climate change and global poverty, but the reason why we're defying these social norms is because we don't want to just fix the problems, we want to change the system. People have often said that climate change is a byproduct of a bigger issue of sustainability and of the way that we're living our lives. If we just solve climate change, then what's to say that in 20 years that problem won't occur again because the system is still the same? And this is why defying social norms is important, because it changes the system. It changes the paradigms, the constructs, the ways that we're taught to think in, because there's nothing necessarily right about these paradigms. These are paradigms that we've constructed ourselves, so it's just as easy for us to change. And lastly, I'd like to end on the fact that even though I know I've used a lot of young examples and been all, I'm 19, I'm still a teenager, not to make you feel bad, not to make you feel bad. I didn't introduce myself as the 19-year-old. I said the almost 20, is that people aren't born with the ability to defy social norms or to create social change. It's not something that you're born with. It's not a talent that I've been blessed with. It's a conscious decision that I've made. And it's a conscious decision that each and every one of you can make as well. It's essentially looking at your life and thinking there's A and there's B. B is what everyone else is doing. B is what people expect me to do. But is B necessarily right? So I encourage you all to think about the A option and maybe go with that. And hopefully we can all create some social change together. Thank you.